Hello! I am excited to transplant today. When we transfer a plant from the small container to its garden home, we call this transplanting. Sometimes we start seedlings inside in smaller containers, knowing that later we will give them a new home. Some plants need more time to sprout, but can only do so in warmer weather that Minnesota's natural climate does not allow. The outside warmer growing season is pretty short in Minnesota because we have such long winters and chilly days that continue even into late May. Some plants cannot tolerate this, but we love to eat them, so we start the seeds early indoor. Some examples are tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, oregano, and more. Where have the seedlings you're caring for been living the past few weeks? It's been inside, by the window. What has it not experienced? Rain, direct sunshine, and wind. Seedlings are still very delicate and need to be made stronger and tougher by hardening off. By hardening off the young plants, we get them used to the wind, rain, and bright sun. We are helping them to be prepared for life outside. If we don't do this, we have an increased risk of windburn and sunburn, which the plant may or may not recover from. We harden them off after the threat of cold and frost passes. Some plants grow nicely with us in our indoor spaces. You may be transplanting your seedling into a larger pot and choosing to set it by a window in your home. In this case, you do not need to help your plant adjust to rain, direct sunshine, and wind. Let's think about what the plant will need as it continues to grow and the living environment in their new home. I'm going to transplant some seedlings into garden beds, others into outdoor containers, and I'll keep some in clay pots inside my home. I live in an apartment, so I decided to build some raised beds that sit on top of the grass. First, I laid down newspaper, which pleases the worms and helps keep the soil wet for the plants. Next, I use my wheelbarrow and fill the beds with compost, or nutrient-rich soil. Now the beds are great homes for some transplants. There are some things we need to consider to create a suitable home. I know location, amount of sunlight, space to grow, water, and healthy soil is important for plants to thrive. As we will learn, some plants will need support. If you're giving your plant a home by a window in your house, choose the sunniest spot. When I am gardening outside, I like to watch the movement of the sun on a typical day to investigate how it will interact with the plants. The amount of sunlight we receive changes during the days and seasons. It's important to consider what may add shade to the environment. Where is the sun? In what part of the sky? What time of the day is it? The sun moves across the sky at different angles throughout the day. This can help us tell direction and tell time. At noon, the sun is directly above us. It rises in the east every morning and sets in the west every night. Sun from the south is the strongest and gives fruits and vegetables lots of light. Some plants need more sunlight than others. Carefully decide which plant needs take priority. What does your plant need? Remember, each seed is unique. Tomatoes, basil, and oregano grow very well together, so I've decided to plant them near one another. I wanted to plant some sage near the basil, and oregano too, but learned it does not like to grow by other herbs. I need to find the sage a more fitting home. For each new bed or potted home, I will add some nutrient-rich soil. Some potting mix for indoor plants would be fine. I will use a soil compost mix for outdoor garden homes. Some plants may want you to give them food. We call this fertilizer. Organic fertilizers not only give the plants healthy nutrients, but feeds all of the soil too. How does your plant grow? Some can grow nice by their own, and others will need support. For example, some beans, melons, squash, cucumbers, and crawling vines do well with a trellis, which is some sort of wiring, woven, or pole support. Tomatoes tend to need support. One tool we can use to help tomatoes grow sturdy and tall is a cage that helps hold their branches up. There may be times after working out or playing hard with friends, you find yourself thirsty. Plants work hard and get thirsty too, especially while they're young and trying to establish their roots. It's important to water them often. Some plants need more water than others. You'll want to water your plants after you transplant them to their new home. Afterward, if it hasn't rained for a while and you put your finger down a few inches and the soil feels dry, then you should water your plant. If you put your finger on the soil and it feels wet, then you don't need to water. Go with your instincts. You'll probably be able to tell. What would be a good sign that the plant gives you, indicating that it is thirsty? Drooping leaves is a key sign that it is time to water. Are you ready to transplant? We are going to take a look at how to transplant from a smaller container to a larger pot. First, put a little soil in your container. If this were the garden, a hole would need to be dug there too. Next, pour a little water in the hole so the seedling can take a sip right away. Then place the seedling into the hole carefully and build soil up around the stem. Now the transplanting has begun. If there are 2 or more seedlings growing next to each other, each one can be transplanted into its own pot or hole. Gently tease the roots apart, being careful with the roots, but knowing the plants can handle a little bit of disturbance. Another thing that can be described is thinning, which is the instance when there are more seedlings that have germinated than is needed. In this instance, you can just snip off or cut the extra seedlings at the base of the stem and even eat them. Eating the thinning is especially tasty with herbs and other greens. Right now, I am enjoying a little cilantro leaf. After we transplant, we will need to keep a close eye to make sure the plants are taking to their new homes nicely. The sun shines brightly on our plants and the leaves are made to absorb those sun rays. They need the rays to grow. However, the soil doesn't need the sun's rays for the plants to grow. In fact, the soil gets hot from the sun's rays, which isn't the best thing for the plants. When the soil gets really hot, it dries out quickly and the moisture that the roots like evaporates. Mulch keeps the moisture in and the soil temperature cool. Let's review our transplanting steps and moves. First, we'll need to set the plants outside to harden them off. Next, we'll need to dig a hole. A shovel would be a very handy tool. After you've dug the hole where you will place your plant, you'll need to give them some water. Then comes the act of transplanting. Use gentle hands to cradle the plant carefully as you guide them to their new homes. Remember, after transplanting, we need to watch closely and listen to what the plants need. Continue to water and check to see if the plants are looking healthy and feeling supported. Finally, after all the patience and tending to the plants in and around our homes, we get to harvest and enjoy. How are you going to harvest the plant? Will you use the plant to cook some tasty food? I hope the gardening helps you feel nourished and renewed. Well, thanks for digging into the world of transplanting with me.